Hey Dunchbags, what's going on? It's Landon Remixes here, and it is time for a review of the newest album from the British indie rock band, the XX. This one is called I See You. I decided now would be a great time to show off my XX collection because I have literally every project they put out thus far on CD in my physical collection. Of course, I have their debut album XX, and then I've got Coexist, their sophomore record, which is the last one actually that they've put out. And then of course I've got both of Jamie XX's project. We've got We're New Here, which is his remix project, and then his debut album In Color, which actually made my top 10 albums of 2015 list. Now in regards to my XX collection, you might think that I am an absolutely massive fan of the band, and I can just simply say that that isn't necessarily true. Like most people, I found out about the XX through their 2-minute epic intro from their debut, which is currently rocking an absolutely insane 167 million Spotify plays as of today. If you're an EDM fan like myself, you might only know it through the song Project T by Sander Van Doorn, Dimitri Vegas, and Like Mike, which was later remixed by Martin Garrix. Though I don't think Project T or its remix are anything absolutely amazing, coincidentally, I started getting into the XX after hearing that track. And this was in 2013, a full 4 years after the XX dropped their debut album, and basically what I'm trying to say by this is that I'm by no means a longtime fan of the XX. In fact, I've been more recently getting into them strictly because of In Color by Jamie. And I can comfortably say that I haven't been absolutely in love with any project the XX has put out as a combined trio, although I would say I do prefer their debut XX a little bit over Coexist, their sophomore attempt. No matter what I say though in this regard, there's absolutely no denying that both the XX and Jamie alone have been two of the most influential names in the INDIETRONIC scene that has burst up recently. And although I wouldn't call their first two albums electronic by any means, it is very evident that the band's music has been a prime inspiration for a lot of up-and-coming INDIETRONIC producers. For example, Anevo, who's a recent Monstercat pickup. You can clearly hear the XX's influence in his music, especially in his Monstercat debut, Electric Heart, if you just listen through it. But here's where the gears come out and start to turn the opposite way. Rather than the XX influencing electronic music with this album, I See You seems to be much more influenced by electronic music. It's been about 5 years since the XX released Coexist, and as we know, a band or producer's style can change a lot in 5 years. It's just that in this case though, Jamie's solo career blowing up seems to have caused the XX to rethink their outlook on music and place a much higher emphasis on Jamie as a producer for this album. And the XX marketed this very well with On Hold, the album's lead single, being one of the more Jamie-influenced tracks on the record. In fact, I remember when the song first came out on YouTube, I looked through the comments section and just about every comment was saying, this sounds like a Jamie XX track, Jamie's influence is very clear. All of the comments seem to be relating to that, but many made mention about how this wasn't necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people really liked On Hold, and it seems to have worked because this is one of their fastest growing singles to date, and I agree with that to the most part. This is one of the most Jamie-influenced tracks on the album, and probably my favorite track on the album. In fact, it might even be my favorite song the XX has done since Intro. From the lyrics to the little wonky guitar plucks that fade in and out to the Hall & Oates I Can't Go For That sample, very cleverly used by Jamie. This song is just really fun, easily one of my favorites on the record. In addition, the XX seems to symbolize this transition right off the bat with the very first song on the album, Dangerous, which seems to be very heavily influenced by tech house, even artists like Disclosure I can hear the influence of on this song. And I'd have to say, this album seems to have been very cleverly marketed so that it doesn't piss anyone off. Because both fans of Jamie's solo electronic music and fans of the band's early music on their first two albums are going to find a lot to like in this album. The thing is, I See You as an album gives off the illusion that this is meant to be a primarily Jamie-centered work, and the reality is that just isn't necessarily true. With the first couple tracks and the last couple tracks really being the only few on the record that I could really hear Jamie's influence on. Containing the heavy sampling and electronic experimentation, meanwhile the middle 5 tracks of this album don't sound anything really electronic influence, really throwing back to the band's early sound. I heard a lot of inspiration from their debut in these 5. But because of that, it makes for I See You to be all the more diverse and easily my favorite project the band has done together. I'm going to give this album a rating, but not before mentioning one last thing, and that's that the album's closer, Test of Me left my jaw dropped. It is so good. It is that good. You guys absolutely need to check that one out. If you haven't listened through this album yet, it's definitely worth listening through the whole thing just to leave on the note that Test Me leaves you on. It is so freaking good. But for the album as a whole, I feel like a 7.5 would be the top I can give this. There, just like I said, there was that whole middle section. Not a whole lot that was necessarily memorable about it, so that's probably where I'm standing with that. But like I said, I See You is easily my favorite project the trio has done together, and I would definitely suggest you guys check this one out. As always, I have the Spotify link in the description, and if you have listened to the album, make sure to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. I'm Landon Remixes. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.